Now, Lowcountry Forever, a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.
Are you ready to celebrate the sweetest day and, in fact, the sweetest week of the year? It's all going down in Summerville. I'm Brian Cleary. Today on Lowcountry Forever, we're talking about the Summerville Sweet Tea Festival. The executive director of the Summerville DREAM, the organization that puts on the Sweet Tea Festival, joins us. We say hello to Steve Doniger. And Steve, Summerville, the Sweet Tea Festival, September 17th in the birthplace of sweet tea, right?
Yeah, well, you started to think about it. This was where the sweet tea plants were grown. This is where sweet tea was the birthplace of. And you know, Brian, I guess we got to be honest. The reason this is the birthplace of sweet tea is because we thought of it first. So, we got to be honest with the community. We know that. But the reality is sweet tea also represents hospitality. It represents neighbors coming together. You sit on the front porch and have some tea. And Summerville was built on hospitality. It was built on respite for those that might be ill. So we want to welcome it not only being the birthplace of sweet tea with the plants, but also the fact that it is that marquee hospitality beverage that brings people out.
And let's focus in on the event itself. The biggest day of the event is going to be on Saturday, September 17th. That'll be the day of the Sweet Tea Festival. But we've got an entire week, the sweetest week of the year, leading up to it. So what's going to be happening that week leading into the festival?
It's all kinds of stuff. We decided that we can't contain sweet tea in just one day. So starting on the 10th of September, Saturday, we have the sweetest farmers market ever going on. That happens from 8 to 1 on Saturday. And it'll be the sweetest sidewalk sale ever that day, happening from 10 to 6 throughout all the downtown shops throughout the entire Summerville historic area. The rest of the week is just filled with lots of different activities, from planning your family sweetest picnic ever to going out and experiencing the sweetest food ever, the sweetest beverages ever. And there'll be all kinds of different things that'll be listed on our website. Then that leads right into the festival on Saturday.
And you'll have live entertainment during the week. I noticed on Hutchinson Square and also at Short Central. For somebody who may not be as familiar with Summerville, Short Central is where?
So Central is one of the side streets that comes off of West Richardson. So if you're going down West Richardson, it's on the corner there, right down the street from Town Hall. And in fact, if you want to see the vessel, that our mason jar that has the world record sweet tea, it is nestled right there, right off of Short Central as well. It's great little shops down there. It's a pedestrian-only street with historic bricks and things that are there. It's really, really hard to miss, and charming little part of the town.
And in case somebody's thinking, oh, it's a mason jar, how am I going to be able to see it? This is not your regular 10-ounce mason jar. This is a big thing.
This is over 2,000 gallons of sweet tea mason jar. It's hard to miss old Mason.
We are talking sweet things, sweet tea today on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by the executive director of Summerville DREAM. Steve Doniger is our guest today. And Steve, we're talking about the sweetest day of the year, Saturday, September 17th. It's the Summerville Sweet Tea Festival that includes the opportunity for folks who come to the festival to vote for the best sweet tea, correct?
Correct. So there's a couple things at the festival. There's live entertainment that goes on throughout the day. It starts at 2 o'clock, ends at 8. There's a sweet tea tasting that happens starting at 2 o'clock and goes for until supplies last. But a lot of our folks have well over 2,000 different little sample cups. You can buy your official sweet tea mug that you can only get at the festival. And this year, we're actually starting something new on West Richardson, down by People, Places, and Quilts and Montrose and toy shops. We have our first time ever, we're offering a family zone where there'll be games, activities, DJ music, all kinds of things to do over there. So this really is a family atmosphere. It's a great event for everybody from little kids all the way to seniors that bring the grandkids out. So we're really trying some new things. It's really going to be a nice event.
And the event will also have some vendors set up as well and food trucks. But the registration in terms of if I wanted to become a vendor or a food truck, that has already closed.
That has closed. This is the popularity of this event. It fills up quick. It's one of those things that all the vendors, there'll be 100 different vendors out there in food trucks, and they add to the atmosphere as well.
Let's talk a little bit about, for somebody who may not be acquainted with you, Summerville DREAM is the organization that puts on the events. How do you explain Summerville DREAM to someone who's not familiar with your organization?
Summerville DREAM stands for Downtown Restoration, Enhancement, and Management. It was established about 30 years ago. Back then, we had maybe about 18% vacancy in our downtown. It was really kind of hard to compete. So DREAM was established by the local merchants, And we do everything from event management, like the Sweet Tea Festival, the Christmas parade. We do Third Thursdays and the ice rink and all kinds of stuff. But we're also a marketing company for small businesses. And we're also an advocacy group to help manage some of the small business needs and wants versus what comes out of government. So we try to make sure that everything's matched up. So DREAM in and of itself is really kind of that Main Streets program, offering these type of services as a nonprofit to the community of Summerville.
And for this year's Summerville Sweet Tea Festival, Steve, I know you get some sponsors, some good people who help you out. Anybody that you can let us know that's assisting in this year's event?
We're glad to have you guys as part of one of our sponsors and being out there with the radio group, and that's an outstanding thing. We have all kinds of great sponsors, and they'll be listed appropriately, but a couple of our folks that have come through as heroes, Hickson Roofing has really kind of come through for us in a big way. As one of our sponsors. Our title sponsor this year is Home Telecom, and we're working with a new sponsor, Sutter Home Wines. Sutter Home Wines has a new product, the Sweet Tea Wine, that they'll be introducing here at the Sweet Tea Festival. And a bunch of other great sponsors, from Dorchester County First Steps to Guaranteed Rate to TSG Real Estate. A lot of good folks that have stepped up to help make this event a great event.
And the sweetest week of the year that's going to be leading up to that will include a Third Thursday. So for folks who aren't aware of what Third Thursday is, that's something that you celebrate every month in downtown Summerville.
Every month. So Third Thursday is a street fair. We close down the streets. Vast majority of our shops and our restaurants stay open extra hours, have specials during that day. We have vendors and food trucks and entertainment that comes out. So we really have some of the best in the region coming out here to help celebrate. That runs from 5:30 to 8:30 every third Thursday of the month. And of course, during the festival time, we kick it up a notch just because it's the Thursday right before the event. And it is the sweetest Third Thursday ever. I'll guarantee it. Nobody else will have a sweeter Thursday than what we'll have.
We're talking with the Executive Director of Summerville DREAM today on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by Steve Doniger. Now, Steve, you obviously do events throughout the year. Coming up, the 175th celebration. You had a concert earlier this summer, and there'll also be an event surrounding that coming up in December, correct?
Correct. So we partnered with the town, and we did a big Beatles tribute band. We picked the Beatles one because I like the Beatles. And number two, it was on Paul McCartney's 80th birthday. So it matched with that in 175th for the town. But we are hosting, and the town has a big fireworks show on December 17th to celebrate the actual birthday, which is December 17th. But also we have the big Christmas parade that'll happen on December 11th, and we're theming that after 175 years of birthday as well. And that's usually about 25,000 people that come out and enjoy those events. So there's numerous events. There's the Italian Feast will be happening in October. The Oktoberfest happens. There's all kinds of other organizations that are doing great things to help bring attention to downtown Summerville.
And obviously, Summerville DREAM is leading that. Now, one thing that people may be wondering about, Summerville Skates was a part of downtown Summerville the last couple of winters. Hard to believe when it's 80. We're thinking about December events and Christmas parades and stuff. Summerville Skates, what about that for this year?
Well, we love doing Summerville Skates. We actually brought a real ice rink with real ice to town for the past 3 years and served well over 21,000 people within those time frames to do that. So we really enjoyed it. Summerville Skates, the property that it was hosted on, is being redeveloped into a great feature here for the town with some retail and some condos and other things. So it's going to be really good. What we opted to do this year was we're going to take a year off of skates, and we're coming back out with brand new winter activities, Winter Fest, and a few other things that'll be brought forward in the coming season. But we have some surprises still for the end of this year, coming into the holiday season. There's still some great attractions. The town hosts a beautiful Christmas tree lighting ceremony on the 29th of November, and there's still going to be some other fantastic micro events or winter micro events happening out there. And also, Brian, I'll let you in on this. We're really excited about this. We had a local Summerville author and a local Summerville artist work together, and they wrote a children's book called The Sacred Christmas Tree. And that'll be available for purchase coming into this holiday season to talk about how we keep the pine sacred in Summerville It's a lovely little storybook, a cartoon book that'll be launching here later this season as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Something else to look forward to the holiday season. You've really done a great job of exposing Summerville and bringing people in. And every time you and I talk, I always mention the fact, or you mention it as well, parking free in downtown Summerville. And there was some conversation about the parking garage there, but people should know going forward, looks like the parking garage will remain free as well.
The parking garages will remain free. There's free parking throughout the entire area. There's always opportunities to come down here, park. We encourage people to carpool. We encourage people to ride their bicycles. There's great connection pieces down here as well. Some local folks may select to use their golf carts, and that's always appropriate, whatever it kind of takes. But yeah, there's free parking. And I didn't mention this, and shame on me for not. The Sweet Tea Festival is a non-ticketed event. These are free events. You can come and enjoy spending the day out here listening to music, having tea, and if you want to buy something from the vendors or spend money differently, that's fine. But all these events are free, non-ticketed events. You can come down and just be part of the day, go shopping at all these great boutiques and shops we have down here. And if you really, really want something special, we have some brand new restaurants and some great restaurants that have been here for a while. Holy smokes, you can come down here and just spend a fantastic weekend in Summerville.
Summerville Dream really making a difference in the birthplace of sweet tea. So, Steve, if there's somebody who is interested in finding out more about Summerville Dream, what's the best course of action for them to take?
Best thing would be two different options. One would go to our webpage, which is summervilledream.org. Or the second is you could look us up on social media too, Summerville Dream, on Facebook and Instagram and all the social media accounts. And those are always updated constantly with all the best information.
And so Saturday, September 17th, the place to be, downtown Summerville for the Summerville Sweet Tea Festival. And for information on that festival, I would assume we'll just ask people to go to your website as well?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a tab that has all the festival information right there. It's very easy to find.
So the Sweet Tea Festival, a great time to get to Summerville. There's a lot to celebrate in town.
Summerville was built 175 years ago, celebrating a great anniversary all year. And the whole town was really built around hospitality, around an opportunity for neighbors to come together and folks to come visit. So feel good about coming to Summerville. You're more than welcome to come have a glass of sweet tea and perhaps even grab some boiled peanuts and some other things along the way. But even if you can't make it to the festival, come on out anytime, because downtown Summerville is a great place for entertainment, for food and beverage, and for some of the most unique shops you're going to find. So we welcome you anytime.
Saturday, September 17th, that'll be the big day, the Summerville Sweet Tea Festival that'll cap off Sweet Tea Festival Week that'll be going on in Summerville, and you and your family are going to want to be a part of it. Steve Doniger is the Executive Director of Summerville Dream, the organization that puts on the Summerville Sweet Tea Festival, and our guest today on Lowcountry Forever.
The Charleston Radio Group is the Lowcountry. Every week, we highlight local organizations and events that are helping to make a difference here where we live. If you have a group, event, or an idea to feature on Lowcountry Forever, let us know. Visit lowcountryforever.com and click on our podcast link for contact information. Now, Lowcountry Forever continues.
Trucks keep the world moving, and we're talking trucks today on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by Corisa Carter. Corisa is the owner-operator of CM Transportation LLC, and Corisa is also behind the first-ever Charleston Trucking Expo that'll be coming up on September 17th. Corisa, for somebody who's not familiar with CM Transportation LLC, how would you describe your business?
CM Transportation is a logistics company. I was blessed enough to open in 2011. So this will be our 11th year in business. We actually contract owner-operators to pull the containers out of the ports of Charleston and any of the ports in the southeast region.
These days, Corisa, of course, we can't have a conversation without mentioning the word pandemic. We saw the trucking industry affected by the pandemic, perhaps not as much as other businesses because the trucks had to keep rolling. What about you yourself? Have you and your business been able to be back to quote-unquote normal now? And has anything good come out of the pandemic?
The Charleston Trucking Expo actually stemmed from a lot of questions that we got from people during the pandemic who wanted to know how they could get into the business of being an essential worker also. So, a lot of people began to work from home. A lot of people actually opened up their own businesses. And trucking is one of those industries that allow you to do both sometimes, to work from home and to work for yourself. So we were greatly affected by the pandemic when the world shut down. So warehouses were closing, grocery stores were still still open and we still had to get the products to the shelves. However, we probably went from shipping at 100% capacity to maybe at a 60% capacity. So I would say that our workflow was affected about 40%.
And you use the term essential workers, which I think is pretty critical here, because I think pre-pandemic, even though truckers are some of the most essential people in the world, I don't know that that respect was there. Have you found that now people do have a greater appreciation of truckers and the trucking industry?
Yes, sir. Because a lot of times we're moving when the world is sleeping. So nobody thinks about how those shelves get full. But once the pandemic hit and the shelves were empty, I think that we got a newfound respect for the drivers and for those of us that worked in the offices.
And that's a good thing. So the first ever Charleston Trucking Expo coming up on September 17th. Before we get to the details on that, how did the event come about? What was rattling around in your brain that said, hey, I know what we can do. Let's do a trucking expo?
I was getting a phone call saying, hey, Corisa, I want to learn how to dispatch. Hey, Corisa, I want to open a towing company. Hey, Corisa, I want to work for myself. Like you said, it was rattling around in my head. And I was trying to come up with a way to put industry professionals together with the community to answer questions for the community. So I called one of my tire vendors and I asked the tire vendor, hey, if we got together and we had a trucking expo, is that something you'd participate in? And he said, I can't believe we've never had a trucking expo here in Charleston before, since this is a port city that's built on the foundation of the ports and the truckers. So that's how the Charleston Trucking Expo came about, how I could get our industry together with our community to answer questions and help people strengthen their businesses.
We are talking trucking today on Lowcountry Forever. I'm Brian Cleary, joined by Corisa Carter. Corisa, the owner-operator of CM Transportation LLC, and she is also behind the first ever in Charleston Trucking Expo at Exchange Park in Ladson, coming up on Saturday, September 17th. For someone who may not be right now involved in the trucking industry, what would be appealing to them about the Trucking Expo?
Again, Brian, I did want to make it a community event. I wanted to make it family friendly because along with the truck drivers, essential workers, we have their families that were affected by the pandemic. And when our job descriptions changed and the drivers are out on the road often, the families are also affected. So I was hoping to make it a family fun event so that the kids could come out to the Kid Zone, the wives could come out and eat at the food truck and shop with local vendors, as well as learning a little bit about what it is that dad and their husband does every day on the road. So even if you're not involved in the trucking industry, we will have a Kid Zone for the kids. We'll have food vendors on site. We'll have food trucks on site. We have retail vendors. We'll have a DJ. We have beverage services, so it's going to be a great event.
And people talk about the shortage of employees in different businesses, whether it's hospitality, and certainly the Trucking Expo is one of them. Will people be able to come out and find out about employment in the industry?
Yes, sir. I'm glad you asked, because one of the key things that we also wanted to stress was how to get your CDL. So we will have technical colleges out. Miller Mott has confirmed that we will have technical schools available to ask how you enroll to getting your CDL. We'll have logistics companies there to answer questions for owner operators who are already in their own business about getting more business. There will be trucking companies on site. Drivers would be able to apply for different companies here in the area, and not just regular CDL companies. We'll have dump truck companies, towing companies. So a lot of information will be available. Business startup speaker who will tell you how to establish your business and make sure that it's established correctly.
And so we're clear on this. When we talk about trucking, it's not everybody rolling from Charleston over the Rocky Mountains and is gone 7 days at a time. There's many different aspects to trucking, driving in the industry.
That's correct. Here at CM Transportation, our drivers are usually regional, so they will travel from Charleston, perhaps as far as Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee. But we do have some that will ride a little farther to Texas. But not only do you have the drivers in the industry, but you have the dispatchers, you have freight brokers. So it's a whole circle that keeps the industry moving. You could want to start a towing business.
Right.
We'll have a couple of companies that own towing businesses that can answer questions there. We have non-emergency medical transportation vendors that will be there to answer questions about how they started their non-emergency medical transportation business. Even a courier service. So those that are hauling Amazon products to our door, in the courier vans, we'll have a company there that can answer questions on becoming a courier also.
Corisa Carter's our guest today. She's the owner-operator of CM Transportation LLC. She is also behind Charleston's first ever Trucking Expo that's coming up on Saturday, September 17th at Exchange Park in Ladson, something that you want to be a part of. Now, I don't have official statistics in front of me, but the trucking industry is probably more male-centered than female, yet here you are, a woman who not only has been in the trucking industry for a long time, but you own your own business. Can you talk a little bit about what it's like for you as a woman in a male-dominated industry?
I am definitely going to say that I've had my challenges. Not only am I a woman, but I'm a woman who doesn't have a CDL. So I've never drove the truck that I dispatch. I've had a great group of guys. Most of us have worked together for over 20 years. I gained a lot of knowledge from the drivers. However, I still hit the roadblocks with some customers, some shippers, and some warehouses. I believe that when they hear a woman on the other side of the phone, that they do take for granted that I may know exactly what it is that I'm talking about. So I like to take pride in thinking that I mastered my craft, that I'm good at what I do. I'm knowledgeable. My staff is the same way. I like to say one-stop shopping. So when you call CM Transportation, whoever answers the phone is familiar with what's going on with your load. I did have to work a little harder probably to get invited around some of the tables that are predominantly held by men in this industry. But I was lucky enough to work with some great men that were mentored by some great men and who saw my potential in my hard work and who pushed me to be able to open my logistics terminal for myself.
Obviously, you've done some things right. 11 years owning and operating this business. So for a woman who's listening, can you share maybe some advice or some things that you did that you thought were kind of the keys to what has become a very successful business for you?
Yes, sir. Trucking isn't just always about the drivers having the CDL. You have to have that back office support with dispatch, with payroll, with safety and compliance. So my suggestion would be for anyone who is interested in opening a business in the logistics industry to once again to master your craft, to learn the ins and outs of our business so that the decisions that you're making are beneficial for the company and for the drivers. And once you have those relationships and your drivers and your customers can trust what you're saying and that they know that you know what you're talking about, it becomes a little easier for them to be able to trust you and to be able to continue to send you the freight that you need to make your office continue to grow. So relationship building, studying, and taking the classes that are necessary in order for you to know the information that needs to be given. That would be my advice.
As an owner of a business, you're a woman who's a figurehead in what is a male-dominated business. Do you find that you get many women applying to work at your place, or is it just more of all these guys are coming in every once in a while, it's a woman?
Well, actually, right before the pandemic, I would say probably 2019, 2020, we did see an increase in women drivers. There is a driver shortage nationwide. Once vocational schools were taken out of high schools, those technical jobs aren't really stressed like they should be. However, most drivers who get their CDL, someone in their family kind of follows in their footsteps. So it used to be their sons and their nephews, and now it's also their nieces and their daughters. We do have a father-daughter team here at CM Transportation. So I have 3 women drivers that drive for us out of the 43 drivers that we have. We are steadily getting more calls from women than we ever have. And we're also getting calls for women who want to get into freight brokerage and into the dispatching services. So they want to come and train and they want to learn the industry. The vision is bigger than just driving. And so once they realize that back office support is needed, we have definitely seen an increase in women getting into this industry.
So, Corisa, I think you make a great point about the technical schools, not in the high schools anymore, and there are so many jobs in the trades and the technical areas out there. So take me through this. Do you get a call from someone who says, hey, I want to be in the trucking industry. I want to work for you. How long will it take me to get up to speed, and when can I start making money?
I do receive those calls a lot, which was another reason that I thought that the Charleston Trucking Expo would be an excellent event for our community. So I do recommend, when I get that call, I recommend that the applicant start looking into technical schools to obtain their CDL. I also recommend that once they obtain their CDL, that they go get that 1 year over-the-road driving experience. A lot of them don't like it when I say that, But from my experience over the 23 years, I can tell the difference when a driver has been over the road for a year versus if their uncle taught them how to drive and they've never really left the city of Charleston. So I recommend you finding your technical school or your CDL school to obtain your CDL, to go get 1 year experience. And then that will open the door for them to actually apply it just about any trucking company in the U.S. that would accept them after they have a year experience.
So you're a woman owner in a man-oriented business, a man-dominated industry, and it may not be a question that you want to answer, but can you run me through an instance? What happens when you're in that situation and it's kind of obvious that you're being treated a certain way because you're a woman?
Well, Brian, I really don't have a problem answering that because it's actually one thing that probably has pushed me and has driven me almost all of my life. I like challenges. Not too long ago, actually, during the pandemic, my business partner and I went and we met with a new customer, and the gentleman spoke to my business partner, who is a man, spoke to him the whole meeting like I didn't exist. And I thought that it was funny that my business partner would look at me to answer the question. So he would look at Mike to ask the question. Mike would look at me to answer the question. And when we typed up the proposals and, my name was at the bottom of the email, when we are competitive with our rates and we're able to provide good customer service, then we're a force to be reckoned with in the industry. Even if they sometimes say, well, maybe we don't want to go with her. Maybe she doesn't know what she's doing because she is a woman. They usually call back. And once we get the opportunity to service them, then we get them locked in and they always call back.
And 11 years later, I guess the proof is in the pudding there that you've been doing it now at CM Transportation LLC. Do you have openings yourself?
We are currently fully staffed.
Nice.
I do have a great team here, but we're always looking for drivers, owner operators and drivers, because the ports of Charleston, even though the freight goes up and it goes down, we're going to be here forever. And in order for us to keep getting the toilet paper and paper towels to the shelves, then we want to fill as many truck seats as possible. So although the office is fully staffed, we are currently looking for owner operators and drivers, and we are always looking for owner operators and drivers.
And what we need to have happen is Saturday, September 17th, everybody come to Exchange Park in Ladson for Charleston's first ever trucking expo. Carissa, for people who want to come out, how do they get tickets? What do they need to do?
They can visit our website at www.charlestonTruckExpo.com, or they can go to Eventbrite directly and search for Charleston Truck Expo, and they can access general admission tickets for the price of $25. The professional package is the $50. General admission tickets include a swag bag and entry to the event. The professional package actually includes the swag bag, a free t-shirt, and a chance for a raffle. Our grand prize raffle, Brian, is a set of full truck tires valued at over $6,000.
Wow. So if you ever wondered about truckers' expenses, I go put a set of tires on my Ford Escape at $600. $6,000 for truck tires? Really?
Yes, sir. Really. And that is another one of the reasons that this expo, I believe, is going to be a huge success and very informative. We're putting those vendors there so that people can ask those questions. How many people knew we spend $600 and the big truck has to spend $6,000? So maintenance, financial literacy, financial planning, it's all a part of helping those owner operators run their business. We have a great group of vendors that are going to be on site to answer questions and to display their products. And so the whole community will actually realize what truck drivers are up against just to keep their business running.
So this will be a great event for anyone involved in the trucking industry. But Carissa, you've also done a great job of creating an event that'll be fun for all families.
Yes, sir. I can't take all of the credit myself. I have a wonderful expo committee. We began working on this at the beginning of the year, and I may not be the easiest person to work with all of the time. I believe that everybody will be in awe of the setup. It's going to be beautiful. They've worked hard. Without our sponsors, we wouldn't be here. I'd like to thank Cowan Intermodal, which is our corporate office out of Baltimore, Maryland. They are traveling down as one of our sponsors. We have XL Realty here in Charleston, who purchased the sponsorship to help make this happen, as well as CLC, which is a chassis leasing company. They understand the importance of the industry, and they are sponsors to help make this happen. And another logistics company. One of my girlfriends in the business out of Savannah, Georgia is sponsoring, and that's WWD Logistics. So we would like to thank all of our sponsors. I'd like to thank my vendor committee, the staff at CM Transportation, You guys there at Charleston Radio Group have been great, and everyone in Charleston is going to come out and support us.
September 17th, Exchange Park in Ladson's the place to be. And I got to think it's nice for you to be able to say, oh, my girlfriend in Savannah, you're not the only woman in the business. There's more than one.
Yes, and that is amazing to say. 10 years ago, I couldn't say that. But over the last 10 years, the company Cowan Intermodal that we work for, I believe that we now are up to maybe 6 women agents, 6 individual owner-operator women-owned businesses that work under their umbrella. And we are really growing. And you know who runs the world, Brian? Girls.
And Corisa, my wife, would certainly agree. Corisa Carter is the owner-operator of CM Transportation LLC. Also, she is the founder and the driving force behind the upcoming first-ever Charleston Trucking Expo at Exchange Park in Ladson on Saturday, September 17th. You can find information on the Trucking Expo on the Events tab at the Charleston Radio Group station you're listening to. Corisa Carter, our guest today on Lowcountry Forever.
Registration's now open for Lovello, the huge block party on the Isle of Palms, November 5th, and you can participate in one of 4 different ways, all to raise money for the MUSC Hollings Cancer Center. Visit lovello.org to register and help us cure cancer together.
Thanks for listening to Lowcountry Forever. If you missed any of this week's show, there's a complete recording under the podcast link at lowcountryforever.com. Lowcountry Forever is a public affairs presentation of the Charleston Radio Group.